Do you wish you had more time for your relationships? Do you wish you just had more time? And I'm talking about other children, family, maybe teammates. It's not just work related. Would it be nice to have more time spending with your relationships? All right, you can share that with me in the chat box or you can think quietly. I've had this question, I've done this question before with other groups, and mostly people say, yes, I'd like to have more time, but there's just always so much to do. All right, let me tell you something. Next week, in fact, in 4 days, Sunday, 12 o'clock, we are expecting the world to change from how we know it. The biggest volcanic eruptions is expected to happen in America, and it will suffocate the earth, and the human species will be almost erased. Do you think you would find the time now to connect with your relationships? And we will, won't we? Jeremiah, hey, welcome. Good to see you. We will make the time, because the biggest problem with relationship is this: they never feel urgent. We think there's always time, but there isn't. But once we put urgency on it, we realize what actually has the higher priority and the higher impact in our life. And this is a lot what I want to share with you today. So what we find in the workplaces, going back to the workplaces, is that hybrid work works. Most companies say, look, in terms of task management, we have said we have good systems, or people know what to do. Everything is working quite nicely. Yet, if it comes to hybrid connection, we often hear things like this. When I speak to HR managers, they would say, oh yeah, our engagement report says we like to keep hybrid work, but I miss the connection. And managers tell me, how do I integrate new starters? Or I'm losing touch with my team. I think the trust is gone. Our collaboration is not quite gelling at the moment. And even concerns about mental health, anxiety, or depressions, or it comes up incivility. So the connection needs something to work on. But I'll challenge you again. Could hybrid disconnect be only a symptom of a much deeper problem, which we had before COVID? Because even before COVID, let's be honest, according to Gallup research, only 19% of employees had been actively engaged at work. So what we really need is a new thinking of what is really important, what shapes our day-to-day relationship, if it's not necessarily the one of being in the office at the same time. And for that, I want to share with you the concept of teamship, which is the title of today's session. And it was coined by an author, Lonnie Wheeler, and he is a baseball fanatic. He's an author and a baseball fanatic, and he's written a book called The Intangible. And he looked at his favorite baseball team called the Connecticut Reds over their 5 years of a cultural development. And the secret sauce that he discovered was teamship. And here is his quote on what teamship means in his word. It's a unique and refreshing ode to the little things that represent baseball's heartbeat. The player who, in countless ways, makes other players better. So here it is not about making work better or making baseball better. It is about making each other better and lifting each other up in countless ways. In other words, teamwork is about the doing, teamship is about feeling together and feeling connected. How does it play out in teams? What does that look familiar to? Oh, hi, Sam, I can see you're here live. Great to see you. So in teams, this is how it shows up. In teams that are like a can of worms, We have a lot of individual contributors. We have a lot of experts, and they do what they do, mostly from home or in the office, doesn't really matter. And you can see they're very close together, but they don't gel. Now imagine you have to manage that team. If you're a leader, how exhausting would that be? Having to always look at all those people. No wonder some managers want everyone back in the office, because it's a bit easier to see them. Yes? 66% of managers right now are experiencing signs of burnout, according to Gallup and LinkedIn studies. So maybe that's the reason, because they have to look after too many worms. Now, on the other side, we have the alternative. We have the humming beehive. And what does the queen do? Does the queen tell us what to do all the time? No. The queen does what she does best, and what moves and connects and transforms the beehive for the future. But the bees know. They look after each other. They rely on each other. And somehow the team looks after each other, and they can trust that the other person will do exactly what they need to be doing. So that's the story of teamship, and how you can save yourself some energy as a manager if you were to achieve that sense. Now, before I dive into the three steps how you achieve that in a very simple way, I want to share with you why the topic is so important to me. You see, these two lovely ladies and gentlemen here on the picture are my parents, Karin and Klaus. I grew up on a dairy farm in Germany. And I was the youngest of four. And by the time I came along, there was already no capacity left for much of feeling. My parents had a very small farm. They're very proud farmers. And just to give you a little bit of an insight, it was 21 years before they went on a holiday together. 21 years of marriage before they ever went on a holiday together. And let me tell you, dairy farmers, milking from Monday to Sunday, because the cows don't work on, they don't care about weekends. So here's an indication of where the priority sit in my family. Now, whatever I say now, can I just clarify? I don't want to blame my parents, okay? They did the best they could with the best intention, with the resources and the knowledge they had at the time. And I see the same happening in teams and managers. They do the best they can with the best intention, based on the resources and knowledge and time they have. So one day, I remember I was 11 years old in year 5, and my best friend Julia, who lived in the same village, came to me. And she said, "Birthe, I just want to let you know, I'm really jealous of you." And I was like, why are you jealous of me? She said, "Your parents, they are always around. When I come home from school, both of my parents work and I'm alone. But your parents are always around." And I was like, it struck me. I didn't tell her then, but I thought at the back of my head, I'm jealous of you, because when your parents come home, they are present with you. They have time with you. They do games. You do fun stuff on the weekends, and you actually have quality time together. You see, quantity can very much overload our priority system. In the workplace, we have busy emails, another deadline, another Zoom meeting, and there's never time for the quality of relationships that just never feels urgent. So my invitation is to have a plan for it, and this is what I'm going to share with you today. So the whole is greater than the sum of its part. It's not just me saying that. It's not just Lonnie Wheeler saying that in The Intangible. It's actually research done by Google. The project, they called the Google project Aristotle, because he already 2,000 years ago discovered that if a team works well together, you actually get more output, talking about effective hybrid teamship. But what are the priorities? So they looked at 180 teams and what made the best team. What was needed? What was the ingredient? And here are the 5 ingredients. Number 1 was psychological safety. The sense, you can read it here, that team members feel safe to take risk and be vulnerable in front of each other. In my words, it's trust, knowing someone has got my back, similar to the baseball team, knowing we are here to make each other better and not to make each other's worse. And the next one is dependability, knowing I can depend on someone. And my process I developed is touching on exactly those 2 things on a regular basis in little ways to make big things happen. To give you one other research about belonging, the sense of belonging in the workplace. This research has been done by EY. It's from the EY Belonging Barometer, released in November 22. And we have here senior managers. We can see that we have a sense of belonging at the top in leadership, much higher, around 60 to 70%. And staff between 35 and 40%. Can I just have see who is here live with me and interacting with me? Who would say, sounds familiar? Give me a thumbs up or give me a yes. Give me a yes. That looks familiar. Employees don't feel so much the sense of belonging. Leadership, they think everything is great. I don't have any problems with my team. And the team thinks, well, I'm not sure about it. Let's call it out. Please stay here with me. Let me know in the chat box if that rings true. What's also interesting here is to see that the people, which are the turquoise color right at the bottom, 33% are office workers. They have 33% of belonging. But hybrid have 43% of belonging. Which means if I can work hybrid, I have a higher sense of belonging. So that busts that myth that we think we have to be back in the office in order to feel we belong. And my suspicion is that it is about being trusted and that I have the feeling the company cares about me and my individual needs as well. Pavel, thank you. Thanks for interacting with me here. Yes, it looks familiar. Okay, so this is the sense of belonging, and I have to switch screens again to get to the next page. And just to summarize what I just explained, what we think we know is if we are together and have fun, we are necessarily connected. But what we don't know is what people really think being in there. Yep, get me out of here. Maybe that rings true for you as well, having been in a nice seminar and everything is great, but really your mind is somewhere else. So I want to share with you principles I learned as a high-performance coach. In the last 3 years, I taught executive leaders, CIOs, CFOs, and their teams of how to execute strategy and bring it to life. And these are the 3 core principles. Very easy. Number 1, once a week, make a plan. What am I going to do next week? What are my 3 top items next week in order to bring the strategy forward? Then I prioritize by asking myself, when will I do it next week? So there's a secret for you. Yep, if you want to be more effective, it's a great time management tip as well. And block time in your diary when you're going to do it. Block time in the diary for next week when you want to do the things that are really important to you. Not the urgent ones, the ones with impact. And then lastly, on the day, you execute. You think that's easy? It's not, because you can be sure that on the day there will be crisis and more emails and more deadlines, but no, you stick to the plan. So these are the core principles. And I thought, why can't we use that for connections? The same principles where we have a regular plan and know we make time for connection with intent. So here's my framework of the monthly teamship habit using exactly those 3 core principles. Every team when I work with my clients, we work with a concept of a book club, where you might have a book or a video or or an article that is interesting to everyone. And mostly this would be topics about mental health, well-being, social psychology, active listening, communication, personality styles. Something everyone is interested in, and it helps building the relationship as a team as well. Okay, so you read this article or watch this video, or if you work with us, we actually have a micro-learning app developed for you where each module is only 10 minutes and it's very easy and gamified and fun to do as well. So you do that in 2 weeks in your own time. Next, you have the pair section where you're being paired up with a peer in week 3 to talk about what you learned and what that actually means to you. Lastly, we have the share, where I come in as a facilitator or the leader itself picks it up, repeats what we learned and makes sense of how is this habit of digital distraction, for example, hindering us as a team, and what can we do as a team to work together. As you can see, we have a lot of little things which come to something big. Now imagine you do that every month. Small things become big things, yeah? We have a collective narrative that is happening. So quick repetition. First is conversation with self, that is the think part. Secondly is conversation with other, which is the pair stage. And then lastly, we have the conversation with the team, which is the share stage. And we build a narrative. 2 narratives. We are here to learn from each other, and we are here to make each other better. These are micro moments of belonging that might not look very big, but little things become big things. And that's what we're all about. So quickly, I want to share with you how I did that with EY, one of my clients, with a team that was distributed around APAC, and what we did. So the course we did was a 2 months experience called Better Me, Better Us. And in the think part, here we go. We've got our app here on the slide. In the think part, we learned about our mindset. We learned about energy management. We learned about leading self. 2 weeks, everyone on their own. In the pair part, you get a conversation guide. So we don't just put 2 people together and say, talk about it. We give a little bit of guidance, yeah? And people really like that. And lastly, we're coming to the share part, where we run a fun, engaging 1.5-hour workshop. And you can see here, we get a personality chart as well to see who are the personalities in the room. That is in the 1 month. And then the second month, we have other topics. But altogether, what is the result? We know we like data in HR. And I can tell you that 80% of my participants confirm that they have experienced an increase in team connection. 90% confirmed, yes, my self-awareness has increased. And for those that are in learning and development, the modules have been covered 90%. So the completion rate of the online modules has been 90%. To give you an example, if you work in L&D and you have a library of online learning, the average sits between 5 and 10% completion rate of online learning modules, because mostly people will learn individually. They don't have an accountability partner, and they ask themselves, what for? So that's why our system is so powerful. What do my clients say? One of my favorite quotes is 4 pods became 1. It was the first time everyone worked together on one project together. And can I tell you, Kate actually worked in one office, not even distributed. There were 4 pods in the same room. And that was just before COVID, when I started one of my first pilots. And still, she said, 4 pods became 1. You know, all those disconnections are broken down because we have a shared narrative. So let me look at your chat box. Well, I've got here, San said, from my observation, there are many employees don't want to go back to the office, especially with employees who are caregivers. Meanwhile, they are worried for not being as engaging as other employees who can afford to go to the office and losing the opportunities for promotion and other things. So this is a perfect example. Yeah, this is a perfect example where we think we have to be close to connect. And if we don't have something like team talks, it might actually happen that we feel more connected with the people we see on a regular basis. But the concept of team talks gives you the opportunity that we see each other and even we feel connected on a regular basis. So each month you could pair, each month you could pair up with a different person. And this way we have a lot of shared conversation. And the peer talk is actually the favorite part for all participants. They're quite surprised by that. Yalda said, oh my God, I started a book club at work a few weeks ago, and even before attending the seminar. Great minds think alike. Yalda, we are connected. There is the vibe, definitely. So thank you very much. Look, it can be as simple as that. And I promised you, for those that are still here, that I will share with you a free facilitator guide that you can start tomorrow. Because content is not the problem these days. It's free everywhere. What the problem is, context. And the question, what for? So for this free facilitator guide, I don't give you access to my app, but I looked at free content available online and I put it in a context so you can facilitate it with your team for the thinking, the pairing, and the sharing stage, and make sense of content. And I'm very happy to give that to you for free. But can I just tell you something? I've done the same thing about 3 months ago with a very similar webinar. And I contacted those people who I shared the 3 months facilitator guide with. And you know what they said? Sorry, Birthe, I didn't have time yet. I think it's a great concept, but I didn't have time yet to start it. And this is human. It is a human experience. And that's what I'm here for. I help you to get started. And once you get started, you're ready to continue by yourself. It's just like starting a new exercise regime. That's just like starting any new habit. But we need an accountability partner to hold us accountable to actually do it. And once we're in it, it will be fun. It's a bit like I had a great personal trainer once, and she said, energy produces energy. Once you start, the motivation will flow. And in Atomic Habits, one of the best sellers in terms of habits these days, they say exactly the same. Get started and the rest will follow. So please, if you're interested in the free facilitator guide, please connect with me on LinkedIn or send me an email. My beautiful assistant, Grace, will now share my email address in the chat here on LinkedIn. So you can grab that, send me an email and say, yes, please send me the 3 months facilitator guide. And easy as that. I'll share that with you, no problem. But for those who say, hey, I want to get started, Birthe, get me started. I've got something for you. A very special of 20%, you can save $990. If you get in touch with me today. We don't have to start today. We can start in 3 months or up to 6 months from today. All I need is your commitment of sending me an email today saying, hey, Birthe, I want to get started. Let's see how we make this happen. Send me an email, birthe@teamtalks.com.au, and we can get you started. Altogether, teams are best around 5 to 10 to 12 people. The way I charge is per team because it's the same work for me. All right. Then I'm looking forward to hearing from you, and I'd love to be your accountability partner. I want to leave you with my personal quote. Learning human skills can't be learned from a book, or not from a book alone. It can only be learned with other humans, one conversation at a time. Again, again, and again, because little things make big things happen. And with that, I want to thank you very, very much for being here with me today. And I will now open the room for questions that you can have or that you have. Please put them in the chat. I can't bring you into the room here on StreamYard, unfortunately, but here are my contact details if you want to connect with me. And yeah, love to see you on the other side. But if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box now, and I stay around until we hopefully answered everyone. All right, George, I can see a question here. Expertise versus distance. Help me to understand what you mean by that. Are you talking about knowledge transfer? If we're not in the same office, it would be great if you can just write a little bit more on that. All right, just me now. Is there anything I can help you with? Any more questions? Any stories you like to share? Maybe something similar happened to you, like Yelda has already shared. She is using a book club within her team. So Yelda, maybe you can add the peer talk. I don't know if you thought of that. So have everyone read the same pages at the same time, and then add the peer talk to make sense of it. So people can repeat it in their own words and everyone is involved. This is how you make sure that everyone has an opinion on it. And it teaches peer-to-peer accountability. Yeah, because I know next week I'm going to meet Peter and we're going to talk about it and then bring it back together as a team. Helen, thank you very much for your feedback here. Particularly like the content. Content is not the issue, it's context. Yes, very true. I'm with you, Helen. Thank you so much for your feedback. So George is talking about geography. I can only assume, George, maybe you can contact me directly afterwards, that you talk about how do we bring together a team when we are distributed. So the team talks can absolutely happen in a virtual space. That's not a problem. And the peer talks can also happen on the phone or in the virtual space. The main thing is that they actually happen and not being pushed away out of the diary for just another deadline. And Sun, thank you very much. Yes, thanks for coming here. You're very welcome. Excellent, Yada. Well done. That's great that you're using those diaries. We love diaries and timers. That's how our brain connects and feels urgency. That's great. Okay, I think there's no more questions here. Otherwise, if you have a question directly, please don't hesitate to contact me. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on the other side, because together we are less alone. Thank you very much and have a fantastic day.